before the stars lit the heavens and the first whispers of time echoed across creation, there existed a realm of unimaginable light and majesty. In this sacred expanse, God crafted beings of extraordinary power and wisdom, designed to serve, worship, and carry out His divine will. Among these magnificent creations arose one who would stand above the rest, a warrior, a guardian, and a symbol of unwavering loyalty, the Archangel Michael. Michael was not merely an angel. He was a force of divine authority, endowed with power and intelligence far beyond what we can comprehend. His creation preceded the formation of the earth, placing him among the earliest and most significant of all celestial beings. From the very beginning, his purpose was clear: to uphold the will of God, defend the faithful, and serve as a beacon of righteousness in the cosmic order. His name itself holds profound meaning. Michael, derived from the Hebrew, asks a question that resonates through eternity. Who is like God? This is not just a name, it is a declaration, a mission, and a constant reminder of the supremacy of the Creator. Imagine a being whose strength is immeasurable, whose wisdom guides countless realms, and whose presence alone radiates the authority of the divine. Michael's existence is a testament to the majesty and order of heaven, a living emblem of what it means to serve with perfect devotion. Throughout the ages, he has stood as the commander of heavenly hosts, leading forces of light against the shadows of rebellion and protecting those chosen by God from unseen dangers. In today's story, we will journey into the celestial realm to uncover the life and mission of this extraordinary archangel. We will explore the origins of his creation, the meaning behind his powerful name, and the role he has played in shaping both heaven and earth. From the earliest moments of creation to the decisive battles that determined the course of eternity, Michael's story is one of courage, loyalty, and divine purpose. Whether you are fascinated by the mysteries of the spiritual world, inspired by tales of courage and righteousness, or simply curious about the forces that exist beyond our human understanding, this story promises to captivate and enlighten. As we step into the world of angels, prepare to witness a journey that spans the heavens, reveals the power of faith, and celebrates the triumph of divine order over chaos. If you are ready to discover the incredible story of Michael, the strongest angel ever created, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any part of this heavenly adventure. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment of this epic journey into the heart of heaven itself. As the light of creation poured across the vast expanse of heaven, shaping realms beyond human comprehension, the Archangel Michael stood as a figure of unparalleled presence, his essence intertwined with the very purpose of the cosmos. From the moment he came into being, his existence carried a weight and significance that set him apart from every other being in the celestial hierarchy. A distinction rooted not merely in his strength or intellect, but in the profound meaning embedded within his very name. Michael, a name that resonates through the ages, is far more than a label. It is a question, a declaration, and a mission wrapped into a single eternal truth. Who is like God? This question, drawn from the ancient Hebrew, echoes with the authority of heaven itself, a reminder that no power, no ambition, and no rebellion could ever rise above the Supreme Creator. It is within this question that Michael's essence is revealed, for his role is not only to act as a protector and warrior, but to embody the principle that God's authority and glory are absolute, and that every act of devotion, courage, and justice springs from the recognition of that ultimate supremacy. From the first moments of creation, Michael's awareness was suffused with the understanding of his mission. Unlike other angels, who were created to serve in various capacities, he was given a purpose so vital that it would shape the course of cosmic history: to stand as the defender of divine order, the executor of God's will, and the embodiment of loyalty unshakable even in the face of the gravest threats. The question contained in his name became the foundation of every action he took, the guiding principle that directed him through both the calm majesty of heaven and the chaos of rebellion. In the luminous halls of the celestial realm, where light and sound carry the weight of eternal truths, Michael's name is a proclamation that resonates across the heavens, a constant declaration that no force, no matter how cunning or ambitious, could rival the authority of God. As he moved through the spheres of heaven, Michael's understanding of this truth shaped the very way he approached his duties. When whispers of rebellion began to stir among the angels, it was not merely his physical strength or tactical skill that defined the outcome, but the profound clarity of purpose embedded in his identity. Each angel faced a choice, and in the ultimate test of allegiance, Michael's presence served as a living answer to the question of his name. To the angels swayed by pride, ambition, or deceit, the very embodiment of who is like God stood in stark contrast to the allure of rebellion, reminding them that true greatness comes from alignment with the Creator's will rather than from self-exaltation. In this way, Michael's name is not only a spiritual truth but a weapon of divine authority, a force that confronts falsehood and ambition with the immutable reality of God's supremacy. Throughout the history of the cosmos, Michael's understanding of his name shaped his actions in ways that intertwined with both the heavenly and earthly realms. When conflicts arose, whether in the form of cosmic rebellion or the unseen spiritual struggles influencing human history, Michael's role as guardian, warrior, and mediator was informed by the eternal question, who can stand equal to God? In every decisive moment, whether he faced the formidable challenge of Lucifer's revolt or protected God's chosen people from spiritual and temporal dangers, the meaning of his name provided clarity, courage, and unyielding determination. It was this recognition of divine supremacy, this constant reflection on the principle embedded in his very identity, that enabled him to lead with authority, discern truth with wisdom, and act with justice even when the forces arrayed against him seemed insurmountable. Yet Michael's name is more than a personal declaration. It is a reflection of a cosmic principle, a bridge between the infinite majesty of God and the unfolding narrative of creation. In standing as the embodiment of the question, who is like God, he serves as both protector and exemplar, demonstrating that true power does not arise from pride or self-interest, but from understanding one's place within the divine order and fulfilling that role with unwavering devotion. Every command he executes, every battle he engages in, and every act of guardianship over God's people is infused with this awareness, transforming his very being into a living testament to the supremacy, justice, and glory of the Creator, even in moments of apparent silence, when the events of heaven and earth unfold in ways unseen by human eyes. Michael's identity continues to guide him, his vigilance over the faithful, his readiness to confront the forces of darkness, and his unwavering obedience are all extensions of the truth encapsulated in his name. The question, who is like God, becomes a lens through which every decision is made, a standard against which all challenges are measured, and a source of inspiration for those who seek to understand the nature of loyalty, courage, and divine justice. In this way, Michael's story is not only a tale of celestial warfare and guardianship, but also a meditation on the profound connection between purpose, identity, and the recognition of a higher authority, a lesson that echoes across time and space. As we delve deeper into the chronicles of Michael's life, his battles, and his guardianship over God's creation, it becomes clear that the power of his name is inseparable from the power of his deeds. It is the anchor of his mission, the source of his courage, and the framework within which every victory, every act of protection, and every confrontation with darkness is understood. To know Michael is to understand the eternal truth that no being, however mighty, can surpass the authority of God, and that true strength, wisdom, and purpose flow not from self, but from alignment with the divine will. In honoring the meaning of his name, Michael illuminates a path of devotion, courage, and justice that inspires both angels and humans alike, reminding all who witness his story that the ultimate measure of greatness is the recognition and service of the Creator. In the luminous expanse of heaven, where light flows like rivers of pure energy and the harmony of creation resonates in every corner, the Archangel Michael holds a position of unparalleled significance, a presence so profound that it bridges the infinite majesty of God with the unfolding narrative of both the heavenly and earthly realms. As one of the 7 archangels, Michael is not merely a participant in the divine order but a central figure, a being whose very existence is woven into the execution of God's will, whose every action reflects the authority and purpose of the Creator. To stand among the 7 archangels is to occupy a place of extraordinary responsibility, for these beings are entrusted with the most critical tasks in the administration of heaven, each one a guardian, a messenger, and a warrior, yet none are called to serve with the clarity, courage, and singular devotion that define Michael. Constantly in the presence of God, he exists in an eternal state of attunement to divine command, a perpetual awareness of the will that governs all creation, and a readiness to act without hesitation or doubt. From the earliest moments of his existence, Michael's life has been one of service defined not by choice but by sacred appointment, a calling that requires both the strength of a warrior and the discernment of a sage. Being in God's presence is not a passive state. It is a continual engagement with divine wisdom and authority, a communion that shapes his understanding, guides his decisions, and empowers his actions. Every command that flows from the throne of heaven is met with immediate readiness and absolute obedience, a reflection of Michael's intimate connection to the source of all power. This constant presence allows him to act with precision and purpose, whether executing judgment against forces that threaten the divine order or offering protection to those under God's care. And it situates him uniquely as both an observer and a participant in the unfolding drama of creation. The authority granted to Michael as one of the 7 archangels is not symbolic but active, manifesting in ways that intertwine with both spiritual and earthly events. He does not merely witness the decrees of God. He implements them with a decisiveness that stems from his profound understanding of divine justice. In the celestial hierarchy, while all angels serve with devotion, Michael embodies the convergence of power, wisdom, and unwavering loyalty, and his actions often set the standard for those who follow. The battles in which he participates, whether against rebellion in heaven or unseen spiritual adversaries influencing the human realm, are not acts of personal ambition but expressions of the authority imparted directly from God. And through his leadership, the order and purpose of creation are maintained. Michael's constant presence before God also grants him insights that few other beings can attain, a clarity of vision that allows him to perceive the broader scope of divine plans and the subtle interplay between free will and destiny. This awareness is crucial in his role as a commander and guardian, for the challenges he faces are never merely physical confrontations but moral and spiritual tests that require discernment, strategy, and unwavering fidelity. In every engagement, whether in the heavenly courts or across the invisible battlefields of human history, Michael's actions are informed by the perpetual understanding of God's intent. And it is this intimate knowledge that enables him to act with authority, wisdom, and efficacy. Yet, being one of the 7 archangels is not solely about power or authority. It is a testament to the relationship between obedience, responsibility, and devotion. Michael's service is marked by a humility that complements his strength, a recognition that his role, however exalted, is part of a greater design. The divine commands he executes are carried out not for personal glory, but to fulfill the purposes of the Creator. And in this fidelity, Michael exemplifies the profound connection between authority and accountability, power and service. His actions are a constant demonstration of what it means to live fully aligned with divine will, showing that true leadership in the celestial realm is inseparable from devotion and moral clarity. Throughout history, the Archangel Michael's presence has shaped events both seen and unseen, his influence extending beyond the boundaries of the spiritual realm into the very fabric of human experience. When spiritual forces threaten to disrupt the order established by God, Michael intervenes, leading with authority that reflects the direct empowerment of the Creator. His position among the 7 archangels ensures that he is always at the forefront of such conflicts, guiding, protecting, and executing with precision and purpose. This continuity of action, grounded in constant presence before God, allows him to serve as a stabilizing force, a defender of truth, and a model of unwavering fidelity. In contemplating Michael's role, it becomes clear that his identity as one of the 7 archangels is inseparable from his mission. His power and his devotion, the constant communion with God, provides both the strength and the guidance necessary to fulfill his responsibilities, ensuring that every decision, every intervention, and every act of guardianship aligns perfectly with divine will. In this light, Michael is not only a warrior and protector, but also a living embodiment of obedience, wisdom, and authority, demonstrating how the highest forms of service are realized through alignment with a purpose greater than oneself. His story, interwoven with the celestial narrative, reveals that true greatness arises not from the assertion of personal power but from the faithful execution of divine commands, and it invites all who witness it to reflect on the profound relationship between authority, responsibility, and devotion. As we continue to explore the journey of Michael, the strongest archangel, we see that his constant presence in God's throne room is both the source and expression of his remarkable influence, enabling him to act decisively, protect faithfully, and lead with clarity across all realms of creation. It is through this enduring communion with the divine that Michael's story unfolds as a testament to the power of purpose, the strength of obedience, and the enduring impact of one being whose life is wholly devoted to executing the commands of the Creator. In the boundless expanse of the celestial realm, where light flows in waves of brilliance and every moment vibrates with the music of creation, the Archangel Michael moves with a grace and purpose unmatched by any other being, a figure whose immortality and power are inseparable from his unwavering devotion to the Creator. Unlike mortals, whose lives are bound by the limitations of time and flesh, Michael exists beyond the constraints of age and decay, a being of eternal essence, whose spirit carries the weight and wisdom of countless aeons. This immortality is not merely the absence of death, but a manifestation of divine intention, allowing him to serve God unceasingly, to witness the unfolding of creation from its earliest moments to the culmination of history, and to act as a guardian whose vigilance knows no pause. Every movement he makes, whether across the luminous halls of heaven or the unseen corridors of the earthly realm, is guided by purpose, a seamless extension of the divine will that animates his existence and defines the path of his eternal mission. Michael's ability to traverse between the heavenly and earthly realms highlights the extraordinary nature of his being, for he is not confined to a single plane of existence but operates freely wherever his intervention is required. He can descend to the human world, unseen yet perceptive, influencing events in ways that safeguard the faithful and confront the forces that would oppose God's plans, while simultaneously maintaining his station among the celestial hosts, ever present in the courts of the divine. This duality, the capacity to act across dimensions, reinforces his role as both protector and executor of justice, a bridge between realms, and a guardian whose presence ensures that the order of heaven is mirrored and maintained upon the earth. Every mission he undertakes, whether the safeguarding of individuals, nations, or the faithful community as a whole, is a testament to his unparalleled ability to act across the cosmic expanse, making him a force of stability and power in a universe where both seen and unseen battles unfold in constant tension. Equally essential to Michael's extraordinary capabilities is the spiritual armor with which he is clothed. An impenetrable vestment woven not from earthly metals but from the incorruptible virtues of truth and righteousness. This armor is a reflection of the divine power that flows through him, protecting him from the corrupting influence of rebellion, deceit, and spiritual darkness, while empowering him to confront adversaries whose strength rivals the imagination. Unlike any physical defense, this celestial armor functions on a higher plane, shielding his essence and amplifying the authority of his mission, ensuring that every act of intervention is both guided and safeguarded by the principles of divine justice. In every engagement, whether against the forces of prideful rebellion in the heavens or the subtle machinations of malevolence influencing human affairs, Michael's armor allows him to act with perfect discernment, unwavering courage, and unassailable integrity, making him a figure whose victories are as much moral and spiritual as they are a display of raw power. The fusion of immortality, interdimensional mobility, and divine protection shapes the narrative of Michael's life in ways that extend far beyond mere strength, emphasizing the depth of his wisdom, the clarity of his purpose, and the steadfastness of his devotion. Each of his actions is informed by centuries of understanding, each choice guided by the eternal principles of truth and righteousness that form the core of his being. When faced with the seduction of rebellion, the cunning of spiritual adversaries, or the complexities of guiding and protecting God's chosen people, Michael operates from a place of eternal insight, drawing upon his immortality to see consequences unfold across time and space. Using his mobility to reach points of critical intervention, and relying on his armor to maintain purity and integrity in the midst of confrontation. His presence is a constant reminder that power without virtue is meaningless, and that true strength is inseparable from adherence to eternal truths and divine purpose. Throughout the cosmic narrative, Michael's role demonstrates the profound interconnection between his nature and his mission. He is immortal, yet engaged, capable of crossing realms, yet deeply rooted in divine authority, protected by spiritual armor, yet fully active in the execution of God's will. This integration of abilities allows him to perform tasks and make interventions that are impossible for mortal beings to comprehend fully. Yet they are vital to the maintenance of cosmic order and the protection of those who seek to remain faithful to God's plan. Every intervention, whether subtle or dramatic, is executed with a clarity and effectiveness that stems from his understanding of the eternal stakes involved and the unyielding protection granted by his spiritual vestments. Even in moments when human history seems distant from the struggles of heaven, Michael's presence is tangible in the outcomes of battles fought in both the material and spiritual realms. His armor of truth ensures that deceit and corruption cannot taint his mission, while his righteousness allows him to judge with discernment and act with unwavering purpose. His immortality grants him perspective that surpasses the fleeting concerns of mortal life, enabling him to navigate complex conflicts with foresight and strategic insight. And his capacity to move between realms ensures that his influence reaches precisely where it is most needed, guarding the faithful, opposing adversaries, and upholding the integrity of the divine plan across all planes of existence. In contemplating Michael's extraordinary nature, one begins to understand how these attributes, immortality, mobility between realms, and spiritual armor, are not isolated traits but interwoven aspects of a singular, divinely ordained existence. They define not only what he is capable of but who he is at his core, an eternal sentinel, a bridge between the heavens and earth, and a living embodiment of God's truth and righteousness. Through these gifts, he demonstrates the seamless integration of power and virtue, of strength and wisdom, and of eternal purpose with active engagement in the unfolding narrative of creation. His story is a reminder that divine service demands more than mere might. It requires insight, protection, courage, and a steadfast adherence to the eternal principles that govern all existence. A testament to the profound responsibilities entrusted to the strongest angel and the guardian of both heaven and earth, in the vast expanse of eternity, where the radiance of heaven illuminates every corner of creation, and the harmony of the cosmos reflects the infinite wisdom of God. The Archangel Michael emerged as the steadfast champion of divine order, a figure whose courage and unwavering devotion would come to define the outcome of the greatest conflict ever witnessed in the celestial realm. This was not a battle fought on the basis of mere strength or ambition, but a cosmic war that pitted loyalty against rebellion, truth against deception, and the unwavering authority of God against the prideful defiance of one of the most magnificent angels ever created, Lucifer. Michael's role in this confrontation was not incidental. He was chosen to lead the faithful angels, those who had pledged their eternal allegiance to God, in opposition to the rebellion that threatened to disrupt the divine order and corrupt the harmony of heaven itself. His command was both a reflection of his immense power and a testament to his impeccable judgment. For leading an army of immortal beings in a conflict that spanned both the visible and invisible realms required not only strength but the discernment to act in accordance with the eternal will of the Creator. As the rebellion unfolded, the tension in heaven was palpable. Lucifer, once the morning star, whose beauty and brilliance had captivated all who gazed upon him, became the embodiment of ambition untempered by obedience. His pride, which once reflected the glory of God, had twisted into a desire to ascend beyond his station, to establish a throne above the Creator, and to draw others into his web of deception. 1/3 of the heavenly hosts were swayed by his eloquence and promises of autonomy, creating a rift in the unity of the celestial order. It was in this moment of profound peril that Michael's name, who is like God, resonated with unparalleled authority, serving as both a challenge and a reminder to all who hesitated or wavered. The question embedded in his very name became a battle cry, proclamation of divine supremacy, and the rallying point for those who remained loyal to the Creator, reminding every angel of the futility of opposing the eternal and unchangeable authority of God. Michael's leadership in this conflict was characterized not by impulsive aggression, but by strategic brilliance and moral clarity. Unlike any other being, he understood the stakes not only of physical confrontation but of spiritual consequence. Every maneuver, every directive, was imbued with the wisdom drawn from his constant presence before God, allowing him to anticipate the strategies of the rebel angels and counteract their advances with precision and authority. He guided the faithful angels with an unwavering hand, organizing them into formations that mirrored the order of heaven itself, and ensuring that each action taken reflected the principles of righteousness and truth that were the foundation of his spiritual armor. The intensity of the celestial battle, as described in Revelation, was unlike anything that the universe had ever known. A clash where the forces of light and darkness collided with a force that reverberated across the heavens and echoed into the earthly realm. And at the center of this storm stood Michael, resolute, fearless, and divinely empowered. The confrontation between Michael and Lucifer was not simply a contest of might but a clash of purpose and fidelity. Michael's unwavering commitment to God's will provided him with a clarity that the rebel forces lacked, allowing him to act decisively while maintaining the integrity and unity of the angels who followed him. Each swing of his spiritual authority, each command issued to the legions under his charge, was an extension of divine justice, channeling the power and wisdom of God through his own being. As the battle reached its zenith, the scale of Michael's influence became evident. The rebel angels, despite their numbers and cunning, could not withstand the combination of his strategic insight, moral authority, and the divine empowerment that flowed through him. The tides of the cosmic war shifted as Michael led with unwavering conviction, demonstrating that loyalty rooted in truth and devotion far surpasses ambition fueled by pride and deceit. Through this epic struggle, Michael's role as the commander of the faithful angels highlighted the profound responsibilities entrusted to him. His leadership extended beyond mere battlefield tactics. It encompassed the protection of the integrity of heaven, the preservation of the faithful, and the enforcement of divine law. By rallying those who remained true to God, he not only countered the immediate threat posed by the rebellion but also reaffirmed the order and hierarchy established by the Creator, ensuring that the consequences of pride and disobedience were unmistakably clear. Michael's engagement in this celestial war also revealed the depth of his wisdom and his understanding of the necessity of restraint, discernment, and patience, as every decision carried implications that transcended the temporal and touched the eternal. The ultimate victory achieved under Michael's leadership was decisive and irrevocable. The rebel angels, including Lucifer, were cast out of heaven, their ambitions thwarted, their influence curtailed, and their place in the divine order forever altered. This victory was not only a demonstration of Michael's unparalleled strength and authority, but also a testament to his ability to unify and inspire the faithful, to execute the will of God with precision, and to embody the principles of loyalty, righteousness, and courage. Through this triumph, Michael's name became forever synonymous with the defense of divine authority and the protection of creation, a symbol of the power of faith and obedience in the face of rebellion. As we reflect on Michael's role in the cosmic war, it becomes clear that his leadership exemplifies the integration of power, wisdom, and unwavering devotion. By leading the faithful angels against Lucifer and the rebel forces, he did not merely secure a victory in battle. He reaffirmed the eternal principles of divine justice, the supremacy of God, and the importance of unwavering loyalty. Michael's story serves as a timeless reminder that true strength is inseparable from virtue, that leadership is defined by wisdom and devotion, and that the protection of what is righteous and just requires courage, clarity, and a steadfast commitment to the greater purpose entrusted by the Creator. Through this narrative, the Archangel Michael emerges not only as a warrior of unparalleled might but as a living embodiment of divine order, an eternal sentinel whose actions resonate across both heaven and earth, inspiring awe, reverence, and unwavering faith. In the aftermath of the cataclysmic battle that had shaken the very foundations of the heavenly realm, the Archangel Michael stood resolute among the faithful angels, the embodiment of divine strength and unwavering loyalty. As the echoes of conflict slowly subsided and the brilliance of heaven's light reclaimed its full, unbroken radiance, signifying that order had been restored and that the forces of rebellion had been decisively vanquished. The rebels, once formidable and confident in their defiance, had been swept aside by the disciplined and divinely guided legions led by Michael, whose name, who is like God, resonated through every corner of the celestial expanse as both a declaration of triumph and a lasting reminder of the supremacy of the Creator. The victory was not merely a contest of strength, but a profound affirmation of loyalty, righteousness, and the eternal principles that govern the cosmos, demonstrating that no ambition, however grandiose, could prevail against the unity and obedience of those who stood firmly in alignment with God's will. As Michael's forces advanced with coordinated precision, each angel operating under his command understood the gravity of the mission, recognizing that the fate of creation and the integrity of the heavenly hierarchy were at stake. The rebels, seduced by pride and the promise of autonomy, found themselves outmatched not only in power but in purpose. As Michael's strategic insight and unwavering commitment to justice allowed him to anticipate and counteract every maneuver they attempted, the celestial battlefield, shimmering with radiant energy and imbued with the weight of eternal significance, bore witness to the decisive clash in which truth and loyalty overcame deceit and rebellion. And it was Michael's leadership that orchestrated the harmonious interplay of these forces, transforming what could have been chaos into an ordered and purposeful triumph. With each decisive strike and every coordinated effort of the faithful angels, Michael demonstrated that authority derived from divine mandate carries a power unmatched by any other source. Unlike the rebels, whose ambitions were rooted in ego and self-interest, Michael's actions were guided by the principles of obedience, righteousness, and a deep understanding of the responsibilities entrusted to him by God. His role in securing victory was not simply to defeat the opposition, but to restore balance to the heavenly order, ensuring that the consequences of rebellion were clearly manifest, and that the unity and stability of the divine hierarchy were reaffirmed for all eternity. Through this victory, the authority of Michael was elevated, confirming his status as a chief commander among the celestial hosts, a position that granted him unparalleled responsibility and a direct connection to the divine presence from which his power flowed. The aftermath of the cosmic conflict revealed not only the tactical brilliance and strength of Michael, but also the enduring significance of his spiritual virtues. The armor of truth and righteousness that he had worn throughout the battle remained unblemished, symbolizing that the victory was achieved not through force alone, but through unwavering adherence to divine principles. The faithful angels, inspired by his example, continued to serve with renewed dedication, understanding that the preservation of order, justice, and divine authority required both courage and moral integrity. Michael's leadership had transcended the immediate demands of battle. It had imparted a profound lesson in the power of disciplined obedience and the necessity of aligning one's actions with eternal truths. Moreover, the defeat of the rebels reinforced the understanding that celestial warfare is not measured solely by physical might, but by the alignment of purpose with divine will. Michael's ability to lead effectively, even when faced with opposition from beings of immense power and intelligence, illustrates the profound connection between authority, wisdom, and righteousness, and underscores the principle that true leadership arises from service, fidelity, and the execution of God's plans rather than personal ambition or desire for recognition. In this context, Michael's victory is emblematic of a cosmic truth, that the order of heaven, though challenged, is protected by those who act with integrity, foresight, and unwavering devotion. As the dust of battle settled, Michael's elevated role became evident in the restructuring and reaffirmation of the celestial hierarchy. He was entrusted with responsibilities that extended beyond the battlefield, serving as the guardian of God's glory, the protector of the faithful, and the executor of divine will in both subtle and manifest ways. The rebellion had tested not only the strength of the angels, but also the resilience of the heavenly order. And Michael's leadership ensured that the lessons of that conflict would shape the stewardship of heaven for all eternity. His victory secured the continuity of divine authority, established a model of faithful service, and demonstrated that the integration of courage, wisdom, and obedience is the foundation upon which true power rests. In reflecting upon Michael's triumph, it becomes clear that the cosmic war was more than a historical event within the spiritual realm. It was a defining moment that crystallized his identity as the foremost archangel, a being whose strategic acumen, moral fortitude, and unwavering devotion to God positioned him as the ultimate guardian of divine order. The faithful angels, strengthened by their experience and inspired by Michael's example, became a cohesive force capable of preserving harmony across the realms. And the fallen angels, cast from the heavens, served as a cautionary tale of pride and disobedience. Through this decisive engagement, Michael's authority was confirmed, his reputation as a celestial commander solidified, and the eternal principles of loyalty, righteousness, and divine supremacy were unmistakably reinforced, ensuring that the heavenly realm would continue to reflect the majesty and wisdom of the Creator. Ultimately, the story of Michael's leadership in the cosmic war illuminates the profound interconnectedness of power, virtue, and purpose. By defeating the rebels and restoring divine order, he not only secured his elevated position as a celestial commander, but also demonstrated that true authority is inseparable from moral integrity, strategic insight, and unwavering devotion to God's will. The legacy of this victory continues to resonate throughout the celestial hierarchy, serving as a timeless testament to the enduring power of loyalty, the triumph of righteousness, and the unmatched influence of an archangel whose mission is inextricably bound to the protection and preservation of the divine order. Michael stands not merely as a warrior, but as the living embodiment of divine leadership, a beacon of faith, courage, and unwavering fidelity to the Creator, whose actions ensure that the harmony of heaven endures eternally. As the celestial dust settled from the great cosmic war, Michael's role transformed from a victorious commander of heaven's armies into the vigilant protector of God's chosen people, a duty that would span centuries and traverse the unfolding tapestry of human history, demonstrating that the consequences of his loyalty and leadership extended far beyond the celestial battlefield. From the moment of Israel's selection as a nation set apart for divine purposes, the Archangel Michael emerged as an unseen yet indispensable guardian, a figure whose presence provided both protection and guidance during periods of profound trial and uncertainty. Unlike the dramatic displays of power witnessed during the heavenly rebellion, Michael's intervention in the affairs of God's people was often subtle, woven into the very fabric of historical events. Yet its impact was decisive, shaping outcomes in ways that could only be attributed to divine providence. The Babylonian exile, one of the most harrowing periods in Israelite history, provides a vivid illustration of Michael's protective role and his steadfast commitment to the divine plan. When Jerusalem fell and the people of Judah were uprooted from their homeland, led into captivity by a foreign empire, it seemed as though the promises of God might falter, and despair threatened to engulf the faithful. Yet even in the face of displacement, suffering, and uncertainty, Michael remained a guardian in the spiritual realm, confronting forces that sought to obstruct the fulfillment of God's promises. In the unseen dimensions where spiritual authority intersects with earthly events, Michael engaged with adversarial powers, ensuring that the faithful could endure trials beyond human comprehension. His actions, while largely invisible to mortal eyes, were instrumental in maintaining the continuity of divine protection, allowing the faithful to persevere through exile and hardship. Throughout this period, Michael's vigilance was not limited by geography or political circumstance. His authority extended across realms, transcending the limitations that confine mortal intervention. When enemies sought to undermine the spiritual and physical well-being of God's people, Michael acted as an intermediary of divine justice, confronting spiritual barriers, countering malign influences, and creating openings for deliverance and protection. In the book of Daniel, the presence of a heavenly messenger struggling against the prince of Persia and later declaring that no one stood with him except Michael highlights the archangel's indispensable role in enabling God's plans to unfold despite resistance. Through such interventions, Michael demonstrated that protection is not always a visible spectacle, but often a quiet yet decisive engagement in the spiritual forces that shape human destiny. Michael's guardianship extended beyond mere defense. It encompassed guidance, reassurance, and the preservation of hope for those aligned with God's purposes. During moments of extreme trial, such as the furnace of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and the captivity in Babylon, the faithful were safeguarded against annihilation and spiritual corruption, their lives and testimonies preserved as evidence of God's enduring covenant. Michael, in executing his protective duties, exemplified a principle that reverberates throughout the annals of divine history, that true guardianship combines strength, discernment, and fidelity, ensuring that those chosen to fulfill God's purposes are neither abandoned nor left vulnerable to forces beyond their capacity to withstand. This interplay of spiritual authority and human history underscores the profound integration of the celestial and terrestrial realms, revealing that divine protection often operates through channels invisible yet essential to the realization of sacred plans. As the Babylonian exile unfolded, Michael's interventions were subtle yet decisive, providing the spiritual support necessary for the faithful to maintain their identity, resist assimilation, and uphold the covenantal laws that defined their community. By countering adversarial spiritual forces, he ensured that the trajectory of history remained aligned with divine intention, demonstrating that the protection of God's chosen people is not merely a matter of temporal survival, but of preserving the integrity of their spiritual and moral calling. Michael's vigilance during this epoch of uncertainty exemplifies a form of leadership that transcends the battlefield, where the most critical victories are often won not through visible confrontation, but through the quiet exercise of authority, discernment, and unwavering commitment to the divine plan. Moreover, Michael's guardianship highlights the interconnectedness of celestial authority and human experience. By acting on behalf of God's chosen people, he bridged the realms of the eternal and the temporal, ensuring that the consequences of spiritual conflict were appropriately mitigated in the unfolding of earthly history. Each act of protection, each intervention against adversarial forces, reinforced the principle that loyalty to God's will manifests not only in obedience but in the safeguarding of those entrusted to divine care. Michael's role in these historical episodes illustrates that the divine strategy encompasses both visible events and hidden influences, with the Archangel serving as a conduit through which God's providence is enacted, maintaining the balance of power and ensuring that the faithful endure in accordance with sacred purpose. Through his persistent vigilance during the Babylonian exile and other pivotal moments in history, Michael reinforced the enduring covenant between God and his people, affirming that even in the darkest hours, divine protection remains active and effective. The Archangel's presence instilled courage, resilience, and hope, signaling that God's plan could neither be thwarted by earthly powers nor undermined by spiritual opposition. Michael's actions underscore a timeless truth, that the defense of the faithful requires not only the might of an archangel, but the discernment to act with precision, the wisdom to uphold righteousness, and the unwavering devotion to the Creator's will. In doing, Michael solidified his role not merely as a warrior of heaven, but as the eternal protector of God's chosen, a celestial sentinel whose influence shapes history, safeguards the faithful, and exemplifies the profound connection between divine authority and human destiny. Ultimately, the story of Michael's guardianship during critical historical events like the Babylonian exile illustrates the remarkable depth of his commitment, the enduring scope of his authority, and the unbroken thread of divine purpose that runs through both heaven and earth. As protector of God's people, Michael demonstrates that true strength is inseparable from fidelity, that leadership is inseparable from wisdom and righteousness, and that the influence of a devoted guardian can transcend time, space, and circumstance, ensuring that the covenantal promises of God endure across generations and that the faithful remain under the watchful care of the celestial commander whose name forever proclaims, "Who is like God?" With the ascension of Jesus into heaven, a new chapter unfolded in the cosmic narrative, one in which the Archangel Michael assumed an even more pivotal role, transitioning from the guardian of Israel to the vigilant protector of the Church, the growing body of believers that would carry forth the message of salvation across the nations, bridging the earthly and the divine in ways both profound and unseen, a task requiring wisdom, strength, and a steadfast dedication to God's overarching plan for humanity. From the moment Christ returned to the heavenly realm, Michael's mission evolved, as the spiritual landscape transformed from one defined by the immediate struggles of Israel to a broader arena encompassing the spiritual welfare of the Church, the spiritual body that would continue Christ's work on earth, navigating the turbulence of persecution, deception, and moral challenges that would arise in a fallen world. His vigilance, while not always visible to the faithful, manifested in countless subtle ways, ensuring that the Church, as the spiritual vessel of God's plan, remained protected, guided, and strengthened against forces that sought to undermine its mission, illustrating that divine intervention often operates through a combination of power, discretion, and timing, orchestrated by a celestial authority entrusted with the care of humanity. Throughout the early centuries, as the Church expanded amid Roman opposition, political intrigue, and internal divisions, Michael's protective presence was a silent yet decisive influence, empowering the faithful to endure trials that could have otherwise fractured the nascent community. His role transcended mere defense, encompassing the provision of spiritual fortitude, the preservation of truth, and the subtle dismantling of opposition that, though invisible to mortal eyes, allowed the Church to survive, grow, and fulfill its divine calling. In these moments, Michael exemplified the principle that protection is not simply a display of might, but an exercise of discernment, patience, and unwavering alignment with God's will, ensuring that the Church, as a spiritual entity, could fulfill its purpose across time, space, and circumstance. As centuries passed, the Church faced waves of persecution from empires, rulers, and regimes opposed to the message of Christ, and in every critical juncture, Michael's influence was at work, shielding the faithful from spiritual destruction, even when the physical reality seemed overwhelmingly hostile. While history records the human struggles, the spiritual dimension remained active, with Michael confronting unseen forces, empowering those who remained steadfast, and ensuring that the integrity of the Church endured despite external pressures. From the cataclysms of early Roman persecution to the subtle corruptions and doctrinal conflicts that challenged believers in subsequent eras, Michael's presence served as a constant safeguard, reinforcing that the spiritual realm is inextricably linked to earthly outcomes, and that the protection of God's chosen does not cease even when the heavens appear silent. The ascension of Christ also signified a period in which the culmination of human history, including the events preceding the final judgment, became increasingly imminent, and Michael's responsibilities expanded to encompass preparation for these climactic moments. As the appointed commander of God's heavenly armies, he maintains vigilance over the Church, ensuring that its members are spiritually fortified, that the faithful are guided in discernment, and that the influence of malevolent forces is countered before it can fully manifest in the world. Scripture, while not providing exhaustive detail, hints at Michael's active role in these processes, indicating that the Archangel functions not only as a guardian but also as a facilitator of divine strategy, orchestrating interventions that preserve the continuity of God's plan and prepare humanity for the unfolding of final events. Even in times of apparent silence, Michael remains present, embodying a steadfast commitment that transcends human perception, quietly shaping the course of spiritual and earthly history. The Church, as the body of Christ, continues to encounter trials, whether through societal upheaval, persecution, moral challenges, or internal divisions. Yet in each instance, Michael's influence ensures that these challenges serve a greater purpose within God's divine plan rather than resulting in ultimate defeat. His interventions operate within the unseen dimension of spiritual authority, confronting principalities and powers aligned against God's intentions, neutralizing threats, and empowering the faithful to persist, grow, and remain true to their calling. The protective role of Michael after Jesus' ascension also emphasizes the integration of vigilance, wisdom, and moral authority. While the Archangel is a warrior capable of immense strength, his protection is most effective when combined with discernment, patience, and alignment with divine timing, illustrating that the safeguarding of the Church is as much about strategic oversight as it is about martial power. The faithful are guided not through coercion, but through the maintenance of conditions that allow divine purpose to be fulfilled, a process in which Michael's role is both instrumental and enduring, demonstrating that true guardianship encompasses foresight, restraint, and an unwavering dedication to the Creator's plan. As human history progresses toward the fulfillment of prophecy, Michael's continuing vigilance assures that the Church remains a viable instrument for God's redemptive purposes, preserving the faithful, countering spiritual opposition, and preparing the world for the climactic events foretold in Scripture. From the ascension of Christ to the present day, and extending into the final stages of history, Michael exemplifies the qualities of an eternal protector: steadfastness, wisdom, courage, and unwavering fidelity to God's will. His enduring presence reassures believers that, although the Church faces trials and uncertainties, divine oversight remains active, strategic, and purposeful, ensuring that the promises of God will ultimately be realized, the faithful will be safeguarded, and the celestial order will continue to guide and influence earthly events according to the Creator's sovereign plan. In essence, Michael's ongoing protective role over the Church reflects the seamless continuity of divine guardianship from the Old Covenant to the New, affirming that the Archangel's mission extends beyond temporal events to encompass the spiritual fortification of believers and the preparation of humanity for the final fulfillment of God's redemptive narrative. Through his vigilance, the faithful are strengthened, history is guided in alignment with divine intention, and the Church is assured of enduring protection, illustrating that Michael, as the eternal guardian, remains a vital instrument of God's will, tirelessly preparing for the ultimate culmination of human history when all things are brought into perfect fulfillment under the authority of the Creator. As the tapestry of human history approaches its ultimate culmination, the Archangel Michael emerges once more as the pivotal figure in God's grand design, a celestial commander whose role transcends the ordinary and whose authority extends to the execution of divine judgment, the resurrection of the faithful, and the final defeat of evil, a mission that reflects both his unparalleled loyalty and the perfection of God's will, demonstrating the seamless continuity of purpose that has defined his presence from the earliest moments of creation. Michael's name, echoing through the corridors of heaven as who is like God, has always been both a declaration and a challenge, and in these climactic events, it resonates as a testimony to the absolute supremacy of the Creator and the unyielding commitment required of those entrusted with divine authority, a commitment that has guided him through rebellion, battle, protection, and unseen interventions across the span of human history. In executing divine judgment, Michael assumes a role that intertwines justice and mercy, balancing the enforcement of God's law with the safeguarding of the faithful, ensuring that the consequences of human action align with eternal truth, and that the ultimate moral order is maintained. From the smallest acts of injustice to the grandest displays of human rebellion, The Archangel's authority operates across both spiritual and earthly dimensions, intervening in ways that are often imperceptible yet profoundly consequential, guiding events toward the fulfillment of God's intentions while preserving the integrity of creation. As the appointed commander of the heavenly hosts, Michael orchestrates these interventions with precision, leveraging both his immense strength and his intimate understanding of divine strategy, a combination that has proven decisive in previous cosmic conflicts and that will be essential in the climactic acts of human history. The resurrection of the faithful represents another dimension of Michael's responsibilities, one that transcends temporal existence and touches upon the ultimate hope of all believers. When the final trumpet sounds, as described in Scripture, the dead who have remained steadfast in faith will rise imperishable, their lives restored and perfected according to God's plan. And Michael's role in this process is central, ensuring that the faithful are delivered from the power of death, their bodies and souls united in the triumph of divine providence. This resurrection is not merely an event of restoration, but also a moment of vindication, affirming that loyalty, obedience, and righteousness will be rewarded in accordance with the Creator's eternal standards, and that the faithful, who have endured trials and opposition throughout history, will participate in the final realization of God's promises. Michael's leadership in this sacred process underscores the integration of celestial authority with human destiny, demonstrating that the Archangel's influence is both protective and transformative, securing not only the survival of the faithful, but their ultimate glorification. At the heart of this climactic period lies the ultimate confrontation with evil, a struggle that has spanned the entirety of creation and human history, from the rebellion of Lucifer to the myriad manifestations of sin and opposition throughout the ages. Michael, whose strength and discernment have been tested across countless battles, stands as the vanguard of God's justice, leading the heavenly hosts against the forces of darkness with authority, courage, and unwavering fidelity to divine command. The narrative of Revelation portrays this cosmic conflict with vivid imagery, describing the casting down of the ancient serpent, the defeat of the adversary, and the restoration of divine order, events in which Michael's leadership is both decisive and emblematic, reflecting the culmination of his lifelong mission to safeguard creation and uphold God's sovereignty. Throughout these final acts, the unity of Michael's role becomes evident. He is not merely a warrior or protector, but the executor of divine purpose, the agent through whom judgment, resurrection, and ultimate victory over evil are realized. Each action is interconnected, forming a cohesive narrative in which the spiritual and temporal realms intersect, and in which the faithful witness the manifestation of divine authority in its fullest expression. The defeat of evil is not only a military or cosmic victory but a moral and spiritual triumph, affirming the principles of truth, justice, and righteousness that Michael has embodied throughout his existence. From the first confrontation with rebellion in heaven to the protective interventions during Israel's history, to the safeguarding of the Church after Christ's ascension, Michael's leadership in executing divine judgment also emphasizes the importance of discernment and the measured exercise of authority. Unlike human conflicts, which are often marred by passion, error, and ambition, the Archangel operates within the perfect wisdom of God, ensuring that every decision, every act of intervention, aligns with the eternal plan and manifests divine justice without compromise. This meticulous coordination reflects a broader principle that runs throughout Michael's story, that true power is inseparable from fidelity, wisdom, and alignment with God's will, and that the highest expressions of strength are realized when exercised in service to the Creator, rather than for personal gain or ambition. The culmination of history, with its judgment, resurrection, and final defeat of evil, represents the apex of Michael's lifelong mission and the ultimate vindication of his unwavering loyalty. Every battle fought, every protective intervention, and every demonstration of courage and discernment converges in this final narrative, revealing that the Archangel's role has always been both strategic and sacrificial, a testament to the seamless integration of heavenly authority and divine purpose. As evil is finally vanquished, as the faithful rise to eternal life, and as God's plan reaches its full fruition, Michael's leadership stands as a monument to the enduring power of obedience, the efficacy of righteousness, and the profound significance of serving a purpose far greater than oneself. In the final analysis, the story of Michael executing divine judgment, overseeing the resurrection of the faithful, and leading the ultimate defeat of evil is not simply a tale of celestial warfare, but a profound illustration of divine order, justice, and mercy in action. It unites the threads of his existence from the earliest moments of creation, through the rebellion of angels, the protection of God's chosen people, the safeguarding of the Church, and now into the climactic events of history, into a cohesive narrative that exemplifies the principles of loyalty, strength, wisdom, and unwavering devotion to God. Through these actions, Michael demonstrates that the exercise of power in alignment with divine will ensures that righteousness prevails, the faithful are preserved, and the forces of darkness are ultimately overcome, cementing his role as the supreme archangel whose name eternally proclaims, who is like God, and whose deeds resonate across both heaven and earth, ensuring the fulfillment of God's eternal plan. As we reach the close of this journey through the extraordinary story of Michael, the mighty archangel whose name means who is like God, we find ourselves standing in awe of a being whose existence reflects the very heart of unwavering devotion. From the very dawn of creation he was called to a purpose beyond imagination, not for his own glory, but to serve the eternal will of the one who fashioned all things. Through countless ages he has embodied loyalty so steadfast that even the greatest rebellion in the heavens could not shake his resolve. His courage was not born of pride, but of a deep and unshakable reliance on the ultimate authority of the Creator. A reminder to every listener that true strength flows not from our own power, but from the source of all power itself. We have traced his path from the moment he stood among the 7 archangels, ever present before the throne of God, to the celestial battles that defined the order of the universe. We have seen him rise as commander of the faithful host when the heavens were threatened by the pride and fury of Lucifer, his brilliance untainted by the chaos around him. The clash of that cosmic war was not simply a tale of might against might, but a testimony that righteousness anchored in truth cannot be overcome. Michael's victory was not merely the triumph of an angelic army. It was the declaration that divine order endures, that the authority of the Creator is unshaken, and that loyalty and humility will outlast every force of darkness. Through the pages of history and sacred writings, Michael continues his mission, protecting, guiding, and standing watch over those who seek the light. From the days of ancient exiles in Babylon to the era after the ascension of Christ, his presence is a silent assurance that no matter how turbulent the course of human events may become, there is always a guardian at the gates, a defender of those who remain faithful. And as prophecy whispers of times yet to come, Michael is destined to lead again, to call forth the resurrection of the faithful, and to stand at the forefront when evil faces its final defeat. In this way his story is not only a record of the past, but a promise of what is yet to unfold. Michael's life and mission echo qualities we all strive to embody: loyalty when tested, humility when honored, courage when confronted by the unknown, and an unwavering reliance on a power greater than ourselves. His strength is not a relic of some distant realm, but a living invitation for each of us to stand firm in our own battles, to find courage in our faith, and to trust that light will always outshine darkness. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the celestial legacy of the Archangel Michael. If his story has inspired you, I invite you to like this video, share it with those who might also find strength in his example, and subscribe to our channel so that you won't miss more explorations of timeless stories and spiritual wisdom. Your support helps us continue to bring you content that enlightens and uplifts. May the courage and steadfast spirit of Michael remind you that no challenge is too great when your heart rests in the truth. Wishing you a peaceful evening, a night filled with calm and hope. And until we meet again in the next story, may you sleep well and wake refreshed, ready to carry a little of Michael's strength into your own life. Good night.